My original plan, the way I make most of these videos, was to, go fight by fight throughout the cards, but considering some of the things that happened in the Showtime card, I'm just going to do a quick run through of the PBC card featuring Andre Berto versus Victor Ortiz in the main event. I'm going to do a quick rundown of the events that basically transpired. I already did a video on the Jorge Lara versus Fernando Montiel fight. Big knockout victory in the first round by Jorge Lara. He's a new fighter on the scene at featherweight. He's already proven himself a force to be reckoned with destroying Montiel in a way that no other fighter has done. Not even Nonito Donaire a few years back when Donaire knocked him out at bantamweight. Lara just went in there and destroyed him. He did what a strong young fighter is supposed to do to the seasoned old vet, the seasoned old lion, up at a weight class that he in theory at least doesn't belong in. But then we had Edwin Rodriguez versus Thomas Williams Jr. in certainly one of the fight of the year and probably two of the round of the year candidates. Thomas Williams Jr. triumphed by second round knockout over Edwin Rodriguez. Pretty much took victory out of the clutches of defeat. Rodriguez was hurting Williams. Williams was hurting Rodriguez. Rodriguez had Williams pretty badly hurt in the second round before Williams managed to ratchet off a huge left hand that dropped Rodriguez. Looked like the back of his head even hit the canvas. Rodriguez was out of it. He managed to get up at about the 8 count, but he was so woozy and wobbly that the ref just had no choice but to stop it. I would have liked to see the ref continue it. Some people may say that I'm brutal for that, and some people have already said that to me. But I'm all for giving fighters the benefit of the doubt and giving them every chance in order to survive and keep fighting. Especially because it was the end of the second round. There was only about 7 or 8 seconds left. I think Rodriguez could have survived that. And then check up on him after the minute rest between rounds. And at that point, just you could just play it by ear. Then either call the fight, let him throw in the towel, or whatever it's going to be, or Rodriguez keeps fighting, and Williams manages to finish him off later or something. Of course, after that, we had a couple swing bouts. We had David Benavidez, the super middleweight, the younger brother of Jose Benavidez, the former light welterweight champion, who got a bit of a controversial decision over Mauricio Herrera. But David Benavidez, only 19 years old, a young, hungry prospect on the rise, fighting against Philip Jackson. Pieced up Philip Jackson, pretty easy work. Busted him up the first round, busted him up the second round before finally knocking him out. Knocked Philip Jackson flat on his face. It was almost like a replay of the Montiel versus Lara fight, man. Just Benavidez laid him out face first, and it was over, man. The ref knew as soon as he saw Jackson laying down with his freaking cheek being propped up by the canvas that it was a done deal. And finally, of course, the main event, Victor Ortiz versus Andre Berto. Oh man, it was a pretty damn good fight while it lasted. It seemed to end somewhat prematurely, albeit that seems in part due to Ortiz. Just by virtue of his skill set and by virtue of the fact that he got hit. But before he got dropped, he dropped Berto in the second round with a big left cross. Ortiz was busting Berto up in the third. They were actually busting each other up a little bit, and Ortiz was actually doing pretty well at first in the fourth round before Berto managed to drop him. And then Berto dropped him again. It's actually kind of surprising that Ortiz actually survived that first knockdown. But you could see that, there was over 2 minutes left in the round. It looked like unlikely he was going to be able to survive that fourth round. And Berto managed to finish him off, dropped him again. Ortiz looked woozy as hell. A lot of people were saying that Ortiz quit in this fight. I'm not exactly sure because the ref asked him about 3 times, "Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go?" And at first, Ortiz looked like he was spaced out, like he was in a fucking another dimension or some shit. Like he he was all over the damn place. And then finally, it looked like he shook his head a little bit, but I'm not sure if he was shaking his head like, "No, I'm not ready to go. Stop the fight," or if he was shaking his head like shaking the cobwebs out, like, "Whoa, like where the fuck am I?" I'd be willing to say that it was probably the latter more than the former. Because Ortiz got fucking rocked, man. He was already rocked from the first knockdown. And that second one was just the fucking icing on the cake, the nail in the fucking coffin for Andre Berto to finish Victor Ortiz off. Andre Berto managed to get himself back into, some sort of contention at welterweight. So we'll probably be seeing him again soon. Hey, maybe a rematch between him and Denny. And Robert Guerrero, oh shit, I actually just mentioned Denny. He may wind up getting a shot at Danny Garcia. But I mean, there's a lot of good fights out there at welterweight. I mean, fuck, maybe even Berto Omar Figueroa. That'd be a solid scrap. Maybe if they want to recycle Berto's name, toss him in against Sammy Vasquez Jr. It's a solid step up for Sammy Vasquez. Um, Otherwise, who knows? Maybe use him for Errol Spence, depending on what the situation with Spence is in the IBF. Although it's looking like Spence versus Panamara, it just got ordered, so that's probably unlikely. Or even Berto versus Lamont Peterson. That'd be a solid scrap. A lot of solid fights out there for all these guys, really. And actually, you know what? I think I missed Gerald Washington. Gerald Washington scored a clean, clear-cut, unanimous decision over Eddie Chambers. I think the judges had it 8 rounds to 2. I had it 9 rounds to 1 for Washington. Washington clearly pretty much dominated, controlled the distance. Excuse me. And Washington just pretty much controlled the fight. Eddie Chambers seemed to be kind of relegated to trying to outbox and potshot Washington from the outside, but I mean, it was a long time ago when he managed to pull that off against Alexander Dimitrenko, and Washington was being a lot more cautious than that. He was jabbing him to the body, throwing the right hand to the body, hitting up that little gut that that Chambers had on him, and I mean, just keeping his distance, like a tall fighter should. So I mean, a clear win for him. And I mean, just overall, an excellent card. The PBC card on Fox was just an excellent card, top to bottom. A lot of action, a lot of knockouts. I mean, Lara came through with the knockout. Benavidez came through with the knockout. Thomas Williams Jr. came through with the knockout. Andre Berto came through with the knockout. The only one who I guess didn't come through with a big time KO on prime time is Gerald Washington. But I mean, props to everybody, all the winners. I mean, shit, even the losers, man. I mean, hey, everybody gave it their best effort, and I mean, we'll see how Washington, Benavidez, Lara, Williams, and Berto progress in the future. I'm sure Williams is probably on the precipice of getting a pretty good shot, as well as Lara. Berto, maybe not quite as much. I mean, I'm sure he'll get another nice payday. Probably not a title shot though. And then the others, they're still kind of on the rise. Washington and Benavidez still kind of on the rise, trying to build up, and they're more in the prospect stage than the contender stage at this moment. So that's good for them, and that's good for this card. I'll be moving on to the next one.